All right, YouTube, the electors vote today. Today is the big day that they cast their ballots and also send out their certificates of how they voted. And they're going to vote for Trump. Wild prediction here that there won't be massive civil war and social upheaval as the result of them largely ignoring the will of half a dozen states. To the handful of Clinton fans that still think that threatening a bunch of electors will gain her the election. And to worried Trump fans, a handful again, who think that the same will happen and are, preparing their bunkers or whatever. It's not going to happen. Trump is the president of the United States that will be inaugurated on January 20th. My birthday, by the way. It's going to be a good day for all. Yeah, I'll probably have more than a few drinks that day, let's just face it. But yeah, Trump will be the next president. Globalism is being defeated across the board. And people need to realize all these overly optimistic lefties, the actual like progressive left, the pink-haired people, they think that a paradigm shift has occurred in the world and that their wedge issues that they've been spoon-fed by, corporate neoliberals, not by actual progressives, that their wedge issues and their banter and their ability to silence others is hegemonic, will ever grow, and is irreversible. I disagree. I see a huge backlash in the world right now that's just in its infancy. Donald Trump is the tip of the iceberg. The Brexit and the Philippines are the tip of the iceberg. France is coming up. Italy just got done denouncing globalism. You saw them, the globalists, narrowly hold on to a win in Austria. I don't think they'll replicate that win in France. I think Le Pen will probably end up prevailing at the end of the day. Sweden and Germany, populism is rising there. And I would point out something. You don't even need to be a nationalist to understand why multiculturalism won't work. You can be far left and do the same thing. All you have to do is look at the colonial era and how well that worked. It was multiculturalism. It was an attempt to compel a group of people with their own culture to live in tandem with people with a different culture. And it didn't work. The invaders attempted to be the master over their new dominion, their slaves, and it doesn't work that way. It causes social stress. It eventually causes warfare, street to street. That's what will happen in Europe if they don't pull back on the globalism, on the migrants and so forth. The word on the street is that most of Europe will end up doing so, which is good. Europe will continue to survive. Eastern Europe certainly was never fucked to begin with by this because they remember what it's like to be enslaved by a foreign power and fucked around with and have their economic downturns. And the Polish or the Hungarians or whatever, they know what it's like, so they're not going back to the bad old days. In Western Europe, it's a little bit more of a slow process. Many of these countries have never gone through a period of such social stress before. Trump will become the president of the United States, and it will normalize, regardless of what the slim minority of very vocal pink-haired people want to say, that he's rapist or whatever. Despite their banter, which is almost always wrong anyway and not based on any factual reality that man can possibly behold, most of the world is going to embrace this change over time. There will be holdouts. There will be nations where, they might declare martial law and force globalism down people's throats. Ultimately, though, it will be defeated, which is good. It's good for the United States. It's good for the rest of the world, too. It's good for everybody. Nobody benefits from globalism. Nobody benefits from multiculturalism. The host culture suffers. The donor culture suffers. The native culture suffers. The migrants or immigrants or whatever the term may be suffers. Everybody suffers. It doesn't work. It's been tried before. It's never worked in the past. It will not work in the future. Now, backlash always occurs. And I think that people just thought this time around we can socially engineer everybody to tolerate the situation. Well, it's obviously not working. I think Le Pen will probably win in France. Italy and the UK have already partially freed themselves from this nonsense. Greece will probably free itself at some point. Denmark, certainly. Now, even in Germany, it's starting to happen. And a couple of years ago, if you'd told me that Germany would be able to free itself and wouldn't completely devolve into a third world country, I would have said that you were high, honestly. Because it seems that they're so fixated on feeling guilt for the past that they're not even able to take course of their future. But yes, Trump will be elected by the electors. They're not going to magically support Clinton. And even a handful of faithless electors don't, it's not going to change that. It might change the final tally by a couple of electoral points. That's about all they're going to be able to do. You have a few faithless electors that, yeah, they'll probably cast their ballots for Kasich or Ted Cruz or something. Who cares? It's their right to do. But I would point out the Electoral College, the point of having actual electors instead of literally just points that are automatically and instantly allotted. The point was to keep out a total tyrant. Trump does not rise to that level in any way, shape, or form. Only those that are extremely far to the left, the burnouts or something, they're the only ones that think that he's going to be that bad. The neoliberals are like, ah, shit, we lost. Yeah, this is going to be a bad time for the Democratic Party, and they leave it at that. The Republicans largely support him. The independents, yeah, either way, but they're independent, so they obviously don't have a strong feeling on the two-party system in many cases. Then there are third parties. The libertarian movement, of course. Libertarians will oppose Trump if he does something totally shitty. But he hasn't even been inaugurated yet. We don't know exactly what he's going to do, what he's going to make a priority. If he makes jobs and the economy his priority, nobody's going to have a problem with him. Least of all the libertarians, who will probably end up largely supporting his tax reform. And the next time around, he's going to get reelected by a hell of a lot bigger margin than he was elected by in the first place. There won't be any, deficit in the popular vote situation going on if he does what I think he's going to do. I don't think that he's going to focus on social wedge issues because his campaign largely was not based upon them. For a year, he managed to largely avoid these issues. Clinton kept trying to use them. It didn't work. She ran a shitty campaign. She can blame Russia all she wants for her loss, or Comey, or the DNC. Ultimately, it's her responsibility. She was the candidate. She will never again be in politics. I would be surprised if Chelsea Clinton managed to crack maybe a state Senate seat in politics herself. It would be the third Clinton in a row. It'd be sort of like, again, Jeb Bush. Third Bush in a row. Third time's a charm. This time we'll have a Bush president who won't be a total fucking moron. That didn't work. He didn't even win a state in the primaries. Neither would Chelsea Clinton. She'd get her ass handed to her, honestly. Especially with some of the Podesta leaks there. Showing that even Clinton's own staff, they didn't really like her. They thought, oh, she's a backstabbing lunatic, just like her mother, essentially. Just a chip off the old block, really, really rich and really, really corrupt. Well, good, yeah, that's exactly the sort of people that end up in D.C., granted, but they don't always run for the presidency. I think she'd be held to a lower position. She wants to be a senator from New York or whatever, let her. Who gives a fuck? Nobody's going to work with her. Even the Democrats will shun her like the plague. So Clinton, that's not exactly the most powerful family name at this point. Be kind of like partying with George W. Go get drunk on his ranch. Let W show you how he gives birth to cattle or something like that. Oh yeah, you just stick your arm right up in there and pull them right on out. I used to do this with Dick Cheney before we roasted him up good and hot. Yeah, no, Chelsea Clinton's a non-issue. Hillary Clinton's even more of a non-issue, though. Her career is completely over. She'll make a few more speeches and retire, honestly. They live a lavish lifestyle, but when you've got a presidential candidate slash first lady slash senator slash secretary of state, and then you have an ex-president slash governor slash celebrity, essentially, which is what Bill is, and then you've got their daughter who at least is capable of being coherent. Actually, she speaks better than Hillary does most of the time. Yeah, they're a power family. It's not like they're going to be hurting for certain. They'll still be rich. They'll still be powerful. They'll still embezzle money from foreign clientele in exchange for at least lower level political favors. No, but the Clintons are no longer capable of assaulting the presidency. Trump will win. He'll be the next president. And on the 20th, when he's inaugurated, oh, the tears are going to be delicious. Now, here's the thing, though. I'll say, I have to point this out. I drank the tears of Republicans in 2008 because a lot of people thought that McCain's going to win, and in 2012 it was even more. A lot of people predicted, oh, Romney will win. I knew he wasn't going to win, and it was funny to watch them be stubborn and think that he would. So when push came to shove, and the voting happened, and Obama won, and Karl Rove melted down, I was like, and then people started shitposting and saying, oh, Romney could still win it, and I was like, ha, 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 ha. And then the next day they were all sad, and I was just guffawing. It was great. And I'm going to do the same here. The thing is, The social justice warriors, because they're moralists, because they're moral absolutists, they don't even realize that their arguments, their denial, and their attitude, the way they overact to everything that happens within politics that doesn't go their way, it looks exactly like the most hardened right-wing Bible-thumping evangelocons in 2012 crying about how Obama was the Antichrist. The things that they say are fundamentally equivalent to that. They're just as nutty. They're just as stupid. And they cry just as many delicious tears for me to lick. I'm going to have a good time doing that. And in essence, after today, we're going to know. The electors chose Trump. He's the next president. These people, some of them, will probably have triggered meltdowns. They'll go to their DIY spaces and cry into their pink pubic hair and have to have an orgy or something to take the edge off, take some amphetamines or whatever they do. It's going to be funny to see them in every online space anyway, going crazy, pretending it's the end of the world. Oh, a Nazi is in charge now. Hitler is now the president of the United States. And one thing I will say, I feel a little more positively towards Obama because he's decided to just take the next few weeks and just go back to Hawaii to golf, which is probably what he's going to do for the rest of his life. Be like, fuck this, I'm going to eat a roasted pineapple and I'm going to go golf. Now, that's just great. At least he can't make any bad decisions when he's too busy, playing around with Tiger Woods' wife or whatever. I don't even care. It's better that he does nothing. I've said that several times before. There were periods where he made a lot of bad decisions. TPP, domestic surveillance, ring a bell, maybe the ACA. He should have just gone golfing. He could have spent 8 years doing nothing but golfing and he would have been a better president. And just think, Obama's only the second worst president that we've had in recent times. Bush was honestly worse. Obama's just a smidgen better because for long periods he didn't really do that much. So, yeah, you've got another big debt spender. I have very little hope, by the way. I'll say this about Trump's upcoming presidency. It's going to be funny because the people say, oh, he's not my president. Well, you sound exactly like the evangelocons of 2012. Well, he's not our president. Fucking Kenyan trying to take our guns away. And you're saying the same thing. Oh, he's not our president. Fucking Nazi bigot piece of shit. Fondling pussies or something like that. I will say this. I don't have that much hope that Trump will actually be able to tackle the debt to any semblance of success. That being said, if he can just stimulate the economy and bring the deficit down further, it will be better than what we're suffering under now. Granted, Obama reduced the deficit. That's because the private marketplace caught up and began to grow. It has nothing to do with his own proposals beyond stepping out of the way on the oil boom. That's how he gets to take credit for that. It's one of the few things that he did that made sense. I wonder what advisor it was who got Obama to step out of the way of the fracking boom. Whatever you think about fracking, I don't really like the fact that we have to frack myself. I think it should be temporary. I think we should be working on other energy resources, but it is a good stand-in. It certainly helps with geostrategy, certainly helps us wean ourselves off the Arabian oil teat, so to speak. I would say this, though. I think Trump will be a good president. I think if he runs again, he'll be reelected. A lot of people don't see that now. They say, oh, he barely squeaked by. All they need is a better Democrat to run against him, and they'll do fine. Well, he's going to have 4 years, probably with Republicans running the House and Senate to do what he wants. If he focuses on economy and jobs, he'll do fine. He'll be remembered as a good president. If he goes into the wedge issues, and I don't think he will, but if he does, then he'll falter a bit. So yeah, the electors will vote for Trump. I expect that nationalism, populism, and so forth will rise elsewhere. Libertarianism as well. It's rising up in Brazil. It's rising in places like Canada. Certainly rising here. It's going to be a good time to be had by all. And we've got The Economist cover to analyze in a bit, so stay tuned. That's about all. Peace out.